Good afternoon, and thank you for listening to another segment of Primetime Sports Radio. I'm Jared Oliver. This is WRAS 88.5 Atlanta. If you have any questions, feel free to call me 404-413-9727. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, Jared, why do you sound so upset? Because student athletes do not know how to act. 3 players from LSU were charged with felony charges. Quarterback Anthony Jennings, defensive lineman McQuadius Bain, defensive back Dwayne Thomas, and also defensive lineman Trey Leila Matafeo. That's a mouthful. He was arrested 2 days prior to this incident. We're going to talk about him after I talk about these 3 knuckleheads. The first 3 were all arrested, indicted of unauthorized entry of dwelling. Now, in the state of Louisiana, that means that they have a law that protects people and their property from uninvited intruders with burglary, home invasion, and unauthorized entry. That is from criminaldefenselawyer.com. So basically what happens is Anthony Jennings, his stuff is missing. His things have been stolen. And him and his boys decided to raid a room. You know what? I'm just going to read you the article. I'm going to read you. It's a very detailed article. It's by Quincy Hodges from thenola.com. On June 10th, Jennings filed a complaint to police saying that an unknown person entered his apartment and stole a MacBook Air laptop, PlayStation 4 console, and 3 pairs of shoes. The laptop, according to the report, was back in Jennings' possession 3 days later. Jennings told authorities that he got the laptop back from Bain. Bain claims in the police report he obtained the laptop from an individual who purchased it from an LSU student. The report says Nicholas Anderson was in possession of Jennings' laptop after the burglary took place. Anderson told authorities he bought the laptop from a man nicknamed Duderman for $150 a day after Jennings reported the laptop stolen. Anderson was arrested and charged with possession of stolen property. On the morning of June 12th, Jennings approached the unidentified individual, who happened to be Anderson's roommate, and asked about the stolen laptop, according to LSU police. The individual denied knowledge, and after returning from an early morning class to his apartment, the individual heard his front door open behind him, according to the report. When he looked back, he saw Jennings, Bain, and Thomas coming through his front door. The individual told the police he did not know why these 3 men were in the West Campus apartment and he did not invite them in. While inside, Bain and Thomas confronted the individual with their arms crossed and standing close to him while Jennings stood by the door. Bain and Thomas reportedly told the individual, "Give us his stuff back," and not to wait until the situation got out of control, end quote. The individual denied having any of Jennings' property and allowed Bain and Thomas to search his room for the missing items. The 2, however, did not locate any of Jennings' items, the report claims. As the individual then left for another class, Bain, Thomas, and Jennings followed him out of his apartment. Jennings told the individual that, quote, "If you don't give me my S back back by 2 p.m., it's going to be something," end quote. The individual told authorities that he felt threatened and intimidated by Jennings' comments. The LSU police were called out to the roommate's apartment again on June 14th in reference to a June 12th burglary. The individual, according to the police report, said after he took the trash out and returned to close his door, someone began knocking on his door immediately. As he entered the door, he was approached by 6 or 7 large males who appeared to be wearing shirts that football players usually wear. Then the individual asked the men, what do they need? A man identified as Thomas said they were going to wait by the living room and wait till Nicholas Anderson got back. So the roommate told the police as he went back to the room and closed his door, he heard a bashing sound coming from Anderson's room. He saw Thomas using his shoulder attempting to knock down the door. Thomas and the other men were able to enter Anderson's room, damaging the door frame and locks. So Thomas left Anderson's room with the shoebox and several other men leaving with a Sony PlayStation 4 console and 2 shoeboxes. The police said that Anderson told his roommates to take pictures of the shoes that were stolen from his room. And he was noticed that 3 pairs of Nike Air Jordans were missing, worth more than $500. On Wednesday, June 17th, the roommate was able to identify Thomas in a photo lineup. The LSU Police Department then issued an arrest, a warrant for Jennings, who was also identified by the roommate. Quarterback Anthony Jennings was now booked and charged with unauthorized entry of inhabited dwelling, which carries a fine up to $1,000 and 6 years in prison. Bain and Thomas were also booked with unauthorized entry of an inhabited dwelling. What in the world is wrong with you? Have you lost your mind? Who do you think you are? You think you're the FBI? You want to get your boys to handle your business for you and knock down people's doors and damage door frames? You filed the police report. If you suspected someone stealing your materials or items, why didn't you put that in the police report? Why didn't you put in that Anderson was possibly a suspect in stealing your possessions? But no, 2 days later, you want to get your boys to go in somebody's room and threaten them and antagonize them and knock down someone's door and takes your stuff out of their room. Did you really think you were going to get away with this? Really? You're the starting quarterback potentially at a Division I powerhouse. What is wrong with you? So now you're sitting in prison and could possibly be facing 6 years in prison and a $1,000 fine. What you need to be focused on is football. And I know what probably happened. So you want to be tough. You thought the police report wasn't good enough. So you want to get your boys and go handle your business for you. And you want to run your mouth and threaten the guy. That doesn't make any sense. You're making the situation worse. Put in the police report that you suspected someone specifically that stole your items. Last season, you were benched after throwing 2 completions out of 5 attempts for 11 yards against New Mexico State. And you were benched. You were benched for that. You had the worst completing percentage in the SEC last year, 45.2%. That's what you need to be worried about and focused on. You're the quarterback of a D1 school. You don't know how to file police reports and handle business? So now you and all your boys are sitting in prison with felony charges, unauthorized entry of dwelling. It's ridiculous, man. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense that you think you're the FBI. You think you're running stuff. This is not a movie. This is real life. You don't just be the lookout and while your boys try to handle business and you following people to class. It doesn't work like that. And this other guy, Lelia Matafayo, that's a mouthful. I'm just going to call him Trey. That's his first name. He was arrested at a bar called Reggie's Bar after allegedly robbing a man who was unconscious, which nobody knows why, after allegedly getting beat up. And he was going in his pockets looking for his wallet. And his girlfriend was trying to resist. And Trey pushed his girlfriend back, and she continued to scream and yell. And then he punched her because he kept nagging her. He punched her with a closed fist. And also last July, he was issued a misdemeanor for stealing a bicycle at the LSU library, with some cases around the city that they can take bikes because it's free access around the city. Man, give me a break. This is the library. My question would be, are they allowed to take these bikes on campus, not around the cities? And he was also redshirted last season because of injuring his arm punching through a glass window in the LSU weight room. What in your, are you thinking? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And black folks are so quick to defend these people. How are you going to defend this? This is why they look at us the way we are. Because of incidents like this. This is stupid. Doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. So now Trey is suspended indefinitely. Domestic violence and simple robbery. Les Miles? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Do you know how much it costs to go to school at Louisiana State University? $38,000 for non-residents and $20,000 for residents. You got everything taken care of. Playing football, you have free transportation, free meal plan. All of that's taken care of. And you act like this? This is embarrassing. Not just to your school, not just to your coaches, not just to your family, but to you as an individual in society. This is disgusting. These are not student athletes. These are thugs. This has got to stop. Too much of an opportunity to pursue. You don't want to live and where you don't want to grow up where you came from, but when you get to somewhere that's nice and decent, you want to act like a fool. Anthony Jennings wasn't even guaranteed a starting position for the upcoming season. After the spring game, he had a decent spring game, and now Les Miles says that the quarterback position is now more competitive. You didn't even have a guaranteed starting spot. Well, you can't play quarterback in prison. This is Jared Oliver from WRAS 88.5. Let's go to break.